But is it also interesting, especially when it comes to soccer, that a lot of players are lasting longer and longer and longer, and in some cases, getting better and better and better. So I've always I've always assumed that maybe one day more information is going to come out, and then all of a sudden, kablamo, this came out in regards to tennis. Simon the Bordejo here. Thank you for joining me as always. And if you're a fan of tennis, you will know that Wimbledon is going on right now. There's been some hoo-ha about it, but we're not going to talk about that today. What we are going to talk about is this article that came out around about a week ago, and I read it and my eyebrow went up. Now, just to give you some background information on my own opinion of this, sometimes when I am in my very cynical nature ways, whatever that means, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of doping going on in sports that we don't know about. Like, I believe More Plates, More Dates. Derek did a video a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, whenever it was, about the Liverpool football team. And when you do read some of the information, you're like, what is going on? I can't remember the exact term for it now, but there is a thing in most sports, which is a testosterone exemption. It's like called a TEE or something. It basically means as long as you can prove that you need testosterone, TRT essentially, you can take that as long as it gets your levels back to normal. But as we know, when it comes to TRT, there's no such thing as get your levels back to normal, because if you're not on TRT and you have a bad night's sleep, or you eat a bunch of crap, or you're too stressed, etc., that's going to affect your hormone levels. Whereas if you are using external testosterone, you can have crappy sleep, you can eat crappy food. I mean, an athlete wouldn't do that, but your testosterone levels here and there mostly are going to stay stable. So I think it is a massive conversation to be had. And I understand that nutrition and sports science is moving forward leaps and bounds, but is it also interesting, especially when it comes to soccer, that a lot of players are lasting longer and longer and longer, and in some cases, getting better and better and better. So I've always assumed that maybe one day more information is going to come out, and then all of a sudden, kablamo, this came out in regards to tennis. Now, I found it on the Daily Express website, which is a reputable paper. Well, is any paper reputable anymore? But it's not like I found it on wehatetennis.com. And then you'd be like, well, this doesn't sound legit at all. And it says, tennis drug test concerns raise as players allowed to pick on times for examination. Bosses at the International Tennis Federation have been criticised for their drug testing policy, writes Josh Lees. Concerns over how tennis players are drug tested have grown after it was revealed by the Mail on Sunday that the International Tennis Federation allows the top stars to pick their own times for examinations. This comes after players were invited to select a slot prior to the Miami Open. Anti-doping experts believe this method makes a huge difference to drug teats who are looking to escape detection of their wrongdoing. Similarly, players were allegedly also given comfortable notice as to when they would be blood tested at both the 2019 French Open and US Open. The report reveals that ahead of the Miami Open, players were invited to book their testing slots via the online tennis anti-doping portal. Nicole Sapstead, director of the ITF anti-doping program, sent a letter to all those contending in Miami that they were to be tested days in advance. So all I really know when it comes down to drug testing programs policies is the one that UFC use. They use USADA, and as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, essentially you have to give them times when you're going to be at home, and they will come and test you without giving you any kind of notice. So it could be 7:30 in the morning, you just woken up, you're having your cereal, we're about to test you, right? And that way they can catch you if you're doing anything wrong. And also, if you're not there when they turn up, that basically counts as, well, you missed it. And if you miss the next one, we're not going to sanction you to fight. Now, when it comes to tennis, look, any kind of drug cheating in sport is bad, right? But there are levels here. I would much rather everybody in tennis was doped up as opposed to boxing or MMA, even though they probably are. Because these are people smacking each other in the head, right? They could die. It's a little bit different in tennis. However, I still think that is absolutely crazy, because while you or I, if we started to do it with our layman knowledge, I don't mean that in a bad way, but we're not sort of super duper experts, while we would probably get caught out by this because we don't know how long things are going to be in our system and we don't know what drugs to take to counteract the other drugs, so it can't pick up on a test. No matter who you are in the professional tennis world, and I'm not going to use their names, I don't think that's fair, I'm sure you can come to your own conclusion. If you are working with the best professionals in the world and you know it's a Monday and you don't have to book your drug test until the Friday, I'm sure they can go, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we're going to do the whoops wham, and then it's never going to show up on the test, so we can continue to dope and nobody is going to know any better. It went on as well to say it is alleged some players were given as much as 4 days notice to book their slots. One of Sapstead's messages read, appointments to provide your APB sample will be between 9 and 6 on each day and will be allocated on a first come first served basis. I love that. Who wants to come have their drugs done first? This method has been criticized though. The former president of WADA compared tennis's approach to the heavily scrutinized failure by cycling chiefs to expose the now disgraced Lance Armstrong. Lewis Horter, the former head of Portugal's anti-doping agency, led the criticism commentating is the same thing as the past in cycling. When they announced that they would test all the athletes on the eve of the Tour de France, it's not good. I can't believe they did that. I also have an interesting theory on Lance Armstrong. Not an interesting theory, an interesting opinion. Once again, do I approve of doping in sports? No, you want fair competition. But when you actually read and watch a lot of the documentaries about Lance Armstrong, what he was doing was totally wrong and the guy was absolutely crazy, but everybody else was doing it too. Like in terms of cycling, everybody was actually on a level playing field because they were all doped. That's another different video for a different day. But I'm absolutely amazed that in 2022 this could happen. You have to ask why. It's either one of two things as far as I'm concerned. Either one, they don't actually believe there is a doping problem in tennis, but come on now, it's all about the individual as opposed to what sport you're playing in. Or two, they do realize there's a doping problem, and so they're trying to skirt around the issues. Because again, I'm being super cynical here once more. But do not forget that if you are, and I'm not naming these people, I'm just saying these are the stars. If you are a Djokovic, if you are a Federer, a Nadal, a Serena Williams, a Raducanu, whoever you want to pick, right? Whoever your tennis star of choice is. Who's the crazy Australian guy? Karus, I can't remember. That guy is absolutely nuts. But you want these people playing at your tournament because it brings sponsorships and it brings revenues. And again, I don't know who isn't taking what. I'm not saying that. There's no accusations or whatever. But maybe that's what they're doing. They're like, look, we don't want to know what they're up to. So just give them as much leeway as possible. But I don't think that should be happening in sport. I think if you're going to have a stringent drug policy, it should literally be like if I was a tennis player right now, I could be recording a video because I'm still well into my YouTube and somebody knocks on my door. I don't know how you drag test these days. You still piss into a cup? Does somebody take your blood? I don't know. Maybe it's both. But whatever it is, they come in and they do their thing. And it makes you question what's going on in other sports. So if we bring it back to the Premier League, because I'm a big football fan, soccer, once again, I find it amazing that I don't think there has ever been, I mean, there's like 1 in a million, right? You never, ever, ever get any kind of ping or any kind of news story that someone's been done for drugs. So I think there are 92 teams in the Football League. That could be wrong. I'm making up stats here. We'll go with 90. We'll do with a nice rounded figure. Are you trying to tell me that in 90 teams throughout the entire Football League, and maybe they don't drug test in the lower leagues, they don't have the money, but not one person is doing a performance-enhancing drug? I don't think that's true. And we know it goes on in athletics, and we know it goes on in boxing and MMA. Of course it does. Some guys get popped and they say, oh, it's the protein I'm taking. And you know what? Sometimes it is. Sometimes this protein isn't going through any kind of regulatory process, and it does have a bunch of crap put in it. But also, sometimes you've got to call a spade a spade. There's no smoke without fire. And I honestly truly believe that one day I think this is going to be a bigger scandal. I mean, look at the amount of people that are just doing it casually in the gym. It's all, we talked about this before on social media. It's now cool to go, oh man, yeah, I do STARMs, I do this, I do that. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. Nobody would say anything. It was like a taboo. But now nobody cares. But there was an article on Sky News the other day saying that gym goers are abusing steroids so much with no idea that testosterone will convert to estrogen and then give you man boobs, that now people, like the gynecomastia surgery industry is booming. That was the article on Sky News. And I understand these articles have been done before. But when you read something like Sky News, which is trying to be as mainstream as possible, you know that we have completely changed track about how people are seeing these drugs. Some people, I know these people, I've talked to them, don't think you can even go to the gym unless you're doing some kind of steroid, right? Or some kind of PED. This is true. They just think it's a part of it. You lift weights, you sleep, you eat well, you get your protein in, and you do some kind of drug. Now, I'm going to say this to you. If you really are going to do it, that's up to you. It's not for me to tell you yes or no, but please just do your research. The amount of people that have no idea about estrogen or prolactin or SHBG levels, you need to know about all of it because it all works in flux. Sometimes if you do go on a testosterone dose and you want to do 500 mgs a week, you may actually be better off and see more productivity at 250 a week, at 300. You just don't know. Don't go on Reddit, type in start a cycle and follow it because it's a waste of time. You have to do the research properly, and that's what you should do. And also, how can you make a decision about any of this stuff if you haven't educated yourself? And that's not just the case for doing steroids. That's the case for anything. You need to look into this stuff, and you need to remember that you've only got one body, and ask yourself the biggest question. Don't know how we've got here, but we have now. Is it worth it? I'm going to use my favorite catchphrase. Do you want to look big in a box? This is the worst thing I see people do. Of course, there's a safe way to do it. Well, a safer way to do it, I should say. Regret doing that. Nobody likes air quotes. But unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they introduce a new drug to their system and then they start having massive side effects and they say, oh, it must be something else. It must be something else. No, it's not. It's the drug. I get it. You want to see these amazing results from it and you think you're going to be a big jack dude by the end of it, woman, whichever one. That's not how it works. But you just got to call it for what it is. If you introduce something new into your diet, whatever it may be, and it starts to make you feel like crap, stop it and probably go see a doctor as well, because you don't know what damage it's done. It's hugely unlikely it's done any major damage, but that's the thing. So would it surprise me if tennis players are doping? No, it wouldn't. In fact, I'd be more surprised if they were all clean. And that is the same with all sports. I'm trying to think of one sport now that I truly think is totally clean, and I can't think of one. Even synchronized swimming. There'll be one person that thinks, I know how I can get ahead. I can go do this. I mean, look at the NFL. I got some comments here as well. Again, these are presented from their voice. These are not mine. But some person said the same Federer at the Australian Open 2017 played 5 sets with Wawrinka. I don't know that player. I hope that's correct. And quickly recovered to play another 5-setter with Nadal in the final, and Federer was back then 36. Very suspicious. And somebody else says, I've always been suspicious on Nadal, and Djokovic can't understand how they recover so quickly after long, hard matches. When Fed played 5 sets, he couldn't play the next match due to fatigue. Nadal needs an asterisk next to his name. Is this another example of being woke? Oh, I didn't need that last bit. I mean, the Nadal thing is interesting because he does suffer from that really bad foot problem, I believe it is, and he has to have massive injections. So again, who knows? Sport is riddled with doping. How long before the football players get sussed for their infractions? That one I totally agree on. And then this person here talks about the Nadal thing, and again, this is just somebody in the comments, so who the hell knows? Nadal admitted that he had injections before his every match, during the French Open in Paris. Without them, he can't play, not even work. He was pictured on crutches after he won FO. What's FO? I should know this, and I don't. French Open. How is that allowed? Not to mention him winning Australian Open, coming from 2 sets down and winning in 5 sets. His 10 years younger and fit opponent could barely walk after 5 hours while Nadal was jumping with joy. Well, I'm going to assume it's a cortisone shot or something like that, which is a steroid, but not that kind of steroid. But again, do I think things are going on? Yes, I do. Do I think one day it will come out? I don't know. You never know with these things. I mean, the Lance Armstrong is almost an anomaly with these things. You would imagine we'd get more stories, and maybe one day the window will open and it will all come tumbling through. And to be honest, I'll be more surprised if it doesn't. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the bell ding-dings. When other videos going live, there will be a video over there. Boom. Give it a click if you should so wish. Also, go to grillofmine.com/Simon. You just go to Simon to get 10% off in Greg Doucette's Power 13 cookbook. Patreon.com/Simon316, which is where all the reaction videos are now going. We did a stupid reaction video on Sunday, which was the most pedestrian thing ever, and it got flagged. So now the channel is back to square one. So I'm sorry. I just had to make a call. I do apologize. Again, it's only $1. There's no higher amount. It's just to try and balance the books as best as I can. But I do apologize. It certainly would not have been my choice. At Simon Miller 316 on Instagram and Twitter. Send me these kind of stories should you so wish. I'm also on Cameo, simon@bigcartel.com. Otherwise, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about all this tennis stuff? Once more, football players, tennis stars, rugby stars. You probably think something's going on. Goodbye.